Hello YouTube, 'tis I, Hellhound, your host for all things horror. And, well, I've been thinking. The very first episode of my show that I did, well, not counting the ranking videos, like a guitar video and some other crap, the very first movie review I did was for the movie Fright Night. Fright Night, one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, that was the first like solo movie review I did, and you know, wasn't quite as good at it back then. Not that I'm like really great at it now or anything. Not that I'm a professional. I'm probably still an amateur, but I know I have improved a little bit. And I also talked about the sequel a little bit, Fright Night 2. And I don't really remember what I said about this movie. I didn't really even bother rewatching that review again. But I figured Fright Night 2 is a very underrated sequel. I like it a lot more than most people do. And I feel like it deserves its own video, honestly. Like, it should get its own review. And yeah, I did talk about it in, early on in my show. But I think I want to talk about it a little more. I think I really want to go into why it's underrated and should be considered one of the better horror sequels. Now, it by no means compares to the original. Like, it can't hold a candle to the 1985 classic directed by Tom Holland. But this Tommy Lee Wallace directed follow-up definitely isn't without its strong points. And I'll get into why. Yeah, we have the original Fright Night, and then we have Fright Night Part 2, and yes, this is the actual official DVD release. This is not a bootleg. This had a very limited release, and it's actually very hard to find now. It's like considered a collector's item because it's such a limited release, and it's on sale online for cost you a pretty penny. So I was fortunate enough to find this during that very limited release, and I was like, yeah, I gotta buy this. I gotta have this movie. Finally, they released it on DVD, and I'm definitely not going to miss up this opportunity. I had no idea it would go out of print so soon after, but it's one of the most sought-after items amongst collectors. So I'm very proud to have my own copy. Oh yes, I sure am. There's even people, like me, other horror viewers on YouTube who, have way more experience and use all the special effects and everything. They're well-known YouTube celebrities, and I still don't have this. So I consider myself very fortunate. I'm very thankful to have a copy. I just love these two movies. I really wish they could have made a part 3. But yeah, I already talked about the first movie, so see my review on that one. It's one of the earliest reviews I did. Look at this old-fashioned VHS case. This is like before, this is back when you had to open it up from the side and have the tape come out. How cool is that? But yeah, alright, sorry. I just think that's pretty fascinating. You're probably, maybe you don't think it's as cool as I do, but I think it's kind of cool. I have a few more like that, What's even cooler is the the really big cardboard case, or like the clamshell case, like Wizard Video and Authority MI and all that. But anyway, okay, Fright Night 2. The suckers are back. Do you have a taste for terror? Kind of a boring cover after, this is like one of my favorite posters of all time. Just so epic and just so much going on. Just so well done. There's not really much to this one, but I still love it. I kind of like the subtle approach, now that I actually, But, okay, well, Fright Night 2. The premise is that Charlie Brewster, from the first movie, the one who battled Jerry Dandridge, played by Chris Sarandon, returns. It's been 3 years. This was in 1988, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. Charlie's now in college, and he's been in therapy for years, and he's finally been convinced that vampires don't really exist. He thinks that Jerry was actually just like a cult worshiper who manipulated his mind into thinking that it was a vampire, and triggered a defense mechanism in Charlie's brain that made him believe in the undead, in the Nosferatu, And, he and Peter Vincent saw the same thing, and they saw some pretty bizarre stuff, so I don't know if you could just, put all that down to a hallucination or mass hypnosis or whatever, because, such a thing Doesn't seem very plausible. But anyway, yeah, he's back. He's the only returning cast member other than Roddy McDowall as Peter Vincent, who also returns. Yeah, just those two. Unfortunately, they couldn't get Stephen Jeffries back because he was too busy doing 976 Evil at the time. It would have made a lot more sense within the plot if he returned, and I'll get to that in a minute. He even showed up at the very end of the first movie, and, you know, the red eyes at the end. He said, "You're so cool, Brewster." You know, pretty sure that was supposed to be him. I mean, but who knows? Yeah, Charlie's in college. He's got a new girlfriend, played by Tracy Lind. Her name's Alex. I guess him and Amy broke up sometime after the first movie. It's just crazy considering all he went through to rescue her from the clutches of the vampire. And so, yeah, they're in college. And it turns out Jerry Dandridge's sister, Regine, played by Julie Carmen, seeks revenge on Charlie and Peter for killing her brother. And she's traveled all the way there with her little posse, which also consists of a transgender black vampire on roller skates, another vampire who's kind of like a werewolf. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be a vampire, though. He drinks blood, he has fangs, and he has the same weaknesses as vampires. You know, he kind of he looks like a werewolf. I think he's just kind of embracing the, you know, how Evil Ed turned into a wolf in the first movie. You know, vampires can turn into wolves in most lore, and so you know, or bats, of course. I think he's just a really hairy vampire. He kind of takes the wolf side of it a little more. And his name's Louis. He's played by John Grise. And the one on roller skates, its name is Belle. And then they also have like a Renfield type guardian, kind of like Billy Cole in the first movie. He's played by Brian Thompson from The Terminator and, you know, a few others. He also played Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Oh my gosh. Really muscular, really big guy. You wouldn't want to mess with him. Yeah, his name's Bosworth, Brian Thompson's character. He's like a Renfield type character. He eats insects, and, you know, he's kind of the muscle of the group. I guess he kind of watches over them when they're in their coffins and stuff during the day. And so, you know, that's their little group. And a few more vampires are created. Charlie's friend Richie, and also his therapist. It never explains how the therapist becomes a vampire. It just, Charlie goes in and, like, he wasn't there that day. Like, he called off or something, called in sick. I guess the vampires got to him and made him a vampire in an attempt to kidnap Charlie or whatever. And, you know, it never explains. I guess it's supposed to be a surprise, though, in that scene when they're on the railroad track and his fangs come out. So I guess that's ruined the surprise if you haven't seen the movie already, so I apologize. But yeah, his therapist also turns into a vampire. There's a lot more going on in this movie. Like, there's definitely a more... you know, there's a more, like, elaborate setting. There's more people, more locations. Just, you know, of course, bigger isn't always better. The original's still far better in every way. It's just totally superior. But this is definitely a decent follow-up, in my opinion. But yeah, basically, but the main theme of the movie is, you know, Charlie trying to get Peter Vincent to believe that the vampires are back. He doesn't believe it first, but then Peter Vincent believes. He witnesses some crazy stuff. He believes the vampires have come back from him. But then Charlie doesn't believe it. And Charlie himself is turning into a vampire because Regine goes into his dorm room one night and bites him on the neck. Well, he actually already had a cut from shaving, and she just kind of, you know, rakes her fang across it. And so he's turning into a vampire. Her whole plan is that he'll live forever, and she's going to torture him forever since vampires are mortal, and they live through eternity. And so, yeah, Charlie's turning into a vampire in this film. He himself is becoming one of the undead. You know, find out he's like has an aversion to garlic, and he can't stand bright sunlight. I was wearing sunglasses, so it's a pretty cool idea. And so yeah, and then the werewolf type vampire, John Grise, Louis, he's kind of a surfer persona going on. He kind of plays that same character in the movie Terror Vision and some other movies he's in. He also played the human version of the Wolfman in Monster Squad. He's going after Alex, Charlie's girl, despite the protests of Bosworth, who says that, you know, he's not yours, because really that's Regine's prey. She's trying to get revenge on Charlie, and so that's, you know, they don't want Louis getting in the way. There's not very much interaction between Louis and Regine. Like, there's not much interaction between the vampires, just Bosworth and Louis. Like, they're the only ones seen communicating. That transgender vampire never talks at all, never speaks a word, completely silent. And you don't really see Regine talk to the rest of them. But she also takes over Peter Vincent's TV show, Fright Night. You know, he was the host of, he was like a horror host on a show. That's what I've always wanted to do. It's my dream job. If anybody knows how I can make that possible, please let me know, because I would love to do that. And maybe I will someday, who knows. You know, love to host my own, like, you know, have my own show where I host, like, old, cheesy horror movies. But anyway, she takes over his show. You know, he would play his own movies that he played in. He was kind of like a Peter Cushing. You know, he always played the Van Helsing character in vampire movies. And and he would show him on his show, Fright Night, which is where the title comes from. So she takes over his show, does all these crazy, elaborate transformations into a vampire. Everybody thinks it's great special effects, but really, she is a vampire, and it's happening for real. And so, you know, Peter Vincent tries to stake her through the heart. He tries to attack her. They put him in a mental institution. All kinds of crazy stuff happens in this one, but and I just love it. I don't understand why people hate it so much. Yeah, it's not as good as the original, but I mean, were you honestly expecting it to be? I mean, come on, it's a decent follow-up. Tommy Lee Wallace also directed Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. You know, he's a good director. Did a good job. But yeah, well, that's the basic premise of the movie. All kinds of cool stuff happens. There's a lot of cool special effects, transformation scenes and stuff. You know, cool visuals, just like in the first film. I like the college setting. I love the scenes in the library. Yeah, some pretty cool stuff. Basically, I didn't really I liked Tracy Lynn's character, Alex, but, like, seems like she was mostly a problem in this movie. It was kind of a repeat of the first movie. Like, he was always trying to get into Amy's pants, and she didn't want him to, and, you know, she's like, I'm not ready yet. And it was kind of like the same thing. They did the same thing. It's like the girlfriend character was a problem yet again. But, like, it was kind of an interesting twist. You know, it was kind of swapped, you know, it was kind of swapped from the first film, how, you know, the main vampire, Jerry Danger, in the first movie was going after Amy and trying to seduce her. And this one, it's his sister trying to seduce Charlie. And then Alex has to save him. He kind of becomes the damsel in distress in certain scenes. It's pretty cool. You know, she has to be the one to team up with Peter Vincent and stop the vampires. A really cool climax, too. I guess I won't give much of it away, but yeah, it's pretty explosive and pretty exciting. Pretty thrilling. Yeah, I just love this movie. I think it's a very good sequel. You know, I don't know why. I don't know why people don't like it, but you know, it's great. You know, definitely not as good as the original, as I've said, but you know, it definitely has its moments. Fright Night Part 2. One thing I will say is that, you know, even as a straight male, even I can admit that, like, Chris Sarandon in the first movie was, like, really sexy and seductive. And it feels weird saying that, but, you know, I can understand why girls found him so desirable and stuff. And why Amy was just swept off her feet. Now, Regine in the second movie, like, I don't think she was, like, really capture that. She wasn't seductive enough. She kind of looked like she could be related to him, but I don't know, like, I feel like they could have found somebody sexier and, like, I don't know. I mean, like somebody like Elvira, you know, is played by Cassandra Peterson. I mean, she definitely had some scenes where she was, you know, it was very erotic, and she was, you know, and she looked very good. But you know, I don't know. I think she could have done better. And like the way she talks was kind of like, I don't know. It's like I have plenty more space for my coffin, miles of tunnels, and like she's always had this kind of blank stare and like this just kind of boring way of talking, like. Yeah, she just has nothing on Jerry Danger in the first film. I think that's why this film suffered so much negative criticism and reception. But, you know, I first rented it years ago from the video store. You know, the VHS copy. You know, I wasn't expecting it to be good as the original. I was just wanted to be in for a fun time. That's what it, you know, some good cheesy 80s horror fun, just like the first movie. And I'm glad that you know, Charlie and Peter came back. That was excellent. I really wish Stephen Jeffries had come back. And oh yeah, what I was going to say before, how did Regine know that Charlie and Peter killed her brother Jerry? Like, I mean, could she just sense it? Like, could she just feel it? Did they have like a connection, like a bond? Like, it'd have been better if Stephen Jeffries had returned as Evil Ed. Then he could have been the one who went and told her. He could have found out that his master, his creator, you know, the one who made him a vampire, had a sibling out there, and you know he could have went and found her and then brought her to Charlie. And he should have been that character instead of. But they, you know, rewrote the script to where it was, you know, Louis is played by John Grise. It would have been so much better if Stephen Jeffries returned. I like the movie 976 Evil. Robert Englund, Freddy himself, did a great job directing it, but I really wish they could have like waited or something, or maybe even got another actor. Although he was great in that movie, because I would have loved to see him return in this one. It would have made it so much better. And most people agree with me on that. After that, his career kind of took a different turn. He chose to be in a different genre of movies. Fellow horror fans might already know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, just look up Sam Ritter. Yeah, that's the name he went under in these new type of movies, and they're movies for moms and dads, I guess you could say. Well, maybe not moms and dads. Okay, I'll say no more. But Stephen Jeffries is still awesome, and if that's his choice, that's what he wants to do. So be it. Good for him. But yeah, well, what more can I say about Fright Night Part 2, which I think is a very decent, more than worthy follow-up to an excellent horror film, which is one of my favorites. I wish there could have been more sequels, at least a Part 3. Maybe Evil Ed could have finally returned in a Part 3, teamed up with maybe a cousin of the Dandridge siblings. I don't know, a Dandridge cousin, or something. It's really unfortunate Roddy McDowell's no longer with us, but let's see. Did they make any more Fright Night movies after this? After 1 and 2? Any more Fright Night movies? Did they? Any more Fright Night movies? Nope. I guess not. I guess they never made a remake, or a really awful remake of a remake called Fright Night 2, The New Blood. Nope. Guess not. Well, in my mind anyway, these are the only Fright Night movies that matter. Go check them out. You won't be disappointed. But yeah, well, that's my review of Fright Night 2. I hope you enjoyed it. And I think maybe, I talked about sequels a lot when I'd review a movie. I'd mention all the rest of the movies in the series. But I think I'm going to review some sequels. I think some of them deserve their own videos. Originally, I was just going to do one video talking about a whole series. But, I might do Return of the Living Dead Part 2 and, Stepfather 2 and all that. So, yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed my review. Until next time, keep it horror.